Really? Live? Oh my gosh. This meeting is being live streamed. Got it. What a commitment.
Makeup.
It's happening.
I need another coffee. Okay, so I think we got to talk now. We got to entertain people. We're live on something, somewhere, not just in my office.
Jack Benny
Well-
once made a whole audience laugh by just standing in front of an audience for 20 minutes. Okay, we're not going to do that today.
No, I don't think we should do that, Alex. I think people
Okay.
expect more of us.
Okay, more than Jack Benny. Okay.
So, Liz,
Does anyone
you
in
gotta
our
do
audience know
this
who
is
Jack
where you
Benny
do
is?
the intro, Liz. This is it. You got it. Otherwise, Alex and I, it's just going to be a lot of like mindless banter.
I was kind of into that, but all right, if you insist.
It's going to become
welcome
performance art very quickly.
Welcome to DOOR3 TV, everyone. This is, we believe, given some forensic analysis, that this is episode 20.
Historians in the future historians may look to correct the record.
And I'd like to introduce Jonathan Blessing, who is the CEO of DOOR3, and Alex Asianov, who's our president and founder of DOOR3. I am Liz Flyntz, the director of UX and design. And our guest today is Federico Fernandez, Fede, who's one of our senior designers on the UX and design team.
Hi, Fede.
Thanks for joining us, Fede. Fede is going to talk about our topic, or present our topic. What is the return on investment of UX?
Right.
Well, can I just short circuit this, because I don't. I mean, what is the market value of Apple? Right. I mean, like if I remember I had a BlackBerry, right? I had a BlackBerry, and then the iPhone came out, and it wasn't as good. I mean, it was kind of terrible next to the BlackBerry, but no one remembers the BlackBerry. And the only thing the iPhone offered was a substantially better user experience.
That's true.
And yeah, the BlackBerry is just a piece of fruit now.
We're all using.
So, I mean, the return on investment for user experience, well, I mean, it's Apple. I mean, and before that, if you walk the clock back, Windows itself, right? If you think about what Windows did for DOS, it was a substantially improved user experience of the same thing. And it did less than DOS, but nobody remembers DOS.
Not only did it do less than DOS, but for a lot of routine tasks, Windows was fundamentally worse than DOS, right?
Just like
fundamentally
the iPhone.
slower.
Just like the early versions
Yeah.
of the iPhone, Alex. It was terrible.
But Windows is still worse. For like data entry, it's still not as good. And so it's, it is what it is.
Okay. So anyways,
So-
just to set the stage, Fede. the
After
answer
that
to
shout out to DOS, we're going to talk
And
about.
green
Well, the
screens
answer
everywhere.
to what is the ROI on UX? I mean, I would set the floor at whatever the market capitalization of Apple is.
Well, you are right. Yeah. Kind of.
All right, Fede, let's hit it.
Well, just to thank you for having me, guys. It's
Yeah.
very nice to get this chance and present with the team. What do we do a little bit inside DOOR3, But answering your question, Jonathan, so basically we ask ourselves, what is the return of investment in UX? And we went through a little bit of thinking behind, and we thought, for a business side, return of investment, it could be a measure, and it always involves money. But we kind of were able to say that return of investment is not always about money when we talk about UX, because improving the customer experience in any point of the business, it's already an investment. And that's why we believe UX it's so important when designing a product or service or any part of the business. So yeah, this is kind of what we look as a definition of what is this investment, no?
So it's
But it's
about
not-
love. It's about love, not just money.
Yeah. Sometimes it's about money, though.
Yeah, well, everything ends up in money kind of, but measuring UX and design into a finance world, it's kind of complex, but it still help in the investment. And yeah, so this is what we kind of try to define as ROI in UX. But how can we measure this ROI? Well, to explain this, we basically can say that creating better conversions in our websites or in a product will increase loyalty, and that's a kind of investment in the users that you are trying to interact with your product, no? Or, for example, lower the support calls by having a good platform or service online that obviously directly reduce the cost, no? So we find different areas or key points that it's kind of investing in the business and UX, no? Reduce the risk of building the wrong product. It's something that we find often. And by the time it's already built, like it's very difficult to change that. So having a good UX at the beginning of designing a product, then that really helps to launch your first minimum viable product.
And it really is, and when you think about long-running, large projects of, real complexity, rework is a big part of those projects. It always is. It is natural in the course of a large project that at some point software is going to be rewritten. And one of the ways that we can reduce the amount of rewrite is point number 5. It's pushing UX as much as you can, as early as you can.
Yeah, that's true.
I do want to just add, I agree wholeheartedly with every point here, but there, it's written a little bit from the perspective of kind of a customer, an analysis of impact on customers, but users who are not customers are also a powerful source of ROI. So just like you have lower support calls, if your internal users in an operational platform of some sort have an easy time knowing what to do, don't feel like they're wasting their time navigating through an overly complicated system, have interactions and workflows that optimize on collaboration in the business. What you get is improved morale, reduced turnover cost, improved operations because you have fewer inexperienced staff because of reduced turnover. You get a more buy-in into the system, so you're getting better feedback, and it's a virtuous cycle where people are helping make the system better and better, as opposed to being annoyed with it and shutting off and skirting around the system, thereby creating potential data islands, data cleanup nightmares and all sorts of other things that happen when people try to get around a system that is difficult to use. So
we think a lot about how to reduce user error, and from a design perspective, there is no such thing as user error. It's if there's consistent user error, it's because there's a design problem. So we try to take responsibility for that occurring.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, and like what you say, Alex, sometimes we think about the user as the external person or behind interacting with the product, but we sometimes we work with products that are related business to business or internal platforms that companies use, like that satisfaction in your own employees, and those are users too. That helps to move your business quickly on communication, make it easier, et cetera, et cetera. So like investing not only UX, it's external, but internal to your company, and that it's a good way to applying a return of investment. Or
And I will tell you one other thing, like with the things that I just said, if I've seen a badly designed application at the heart of a company, and then I start a discovery workshop with the C-level executives of a company, I can say what I just said with my eyes closed. I don't have to know anything. It could be the first hour of my interaction in the workshop, and everyone will nod their head. And it's really interesting because they'll nod their head and they'll be surprised at the same time, because most of the time, these inefficiencies and pain points are just part of the normal churn of the business, and everyone accepts them, right? Because that's how it is, right?
Yeah.
And yet UX can uncover this immense wealth of value, right? That was just assumed not to be there or wasn't even thought about.
Yep, that's true.
So then we're going to talk about, we'll talk about each of these methods in turn and give a little insight into specifically how they can increase value.
Yeah, so we try to put here like some few methods, like of course, in UX design, we have tons of methods that we can apply to improve a product. One of the few that we find important is like creating, for example, wireframes. And why do I mention this? It's because you can have like low, high fidelity creating these wireframes, but there are a quick way of creating prototypes and share it with the team, with the development teams, where all the different areas that a UX designer interacts with PMs, with developers, with BAs. All of these people get the chance to discuss and take decisions before it's passed into production. So wireframing, in many companies, we find out that by having these designs, 50% are more accurate. It creates like a 50% more accurate estimates when building a product, or 80% it's reduced request for clarification by development the team. So these numbers are serious things that we can consider when applying UX design.
Nothing gets attention better focused than a picture of the thing that people are talking about building.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So yeah, I kind of put some examples like wireframing. We could have some screens already, or even like quick sketches that we can share with the team are valid to prototype something or a product. The other point that we wanted to share, another method that we currently find, it's creating personas. We were talking before, many companies already have a user in mind, the target audience that they want to approach, but in some cases, that research for these personas come from the marketing team, and by having this information, it's not only a marketing or a branding side that to create a product we need to approach. Creating the personas and the users that actually interact with or it's going to interact with that platform. It's important to keep it in mind because they're going to represent in the future a larger group.
And I think like it's important to think about how UX designers use the personas, which is basically like it allows us to empathize with that particular user and really step into their shoes and think through how they would use the product. So this is a common problem with products that are sort of designed by engineers, is that they're designed for ease of development rather than for ease of use. And this is something that we see when and even for internal business products, they're designed for ease of build rather than for the use of the end user.
I'm going to stick up for the engineers. I'm going to stick up for the engineers. I don't see the tension.
Of course.
No. I see things a little differently. But I want to make two comments. First of all, this 4x increase, I don't know where Forrester comes up with these numbers. This is nonsense. There's if you don't have personas and it is the case that you have a diverse audience, your software is just not going to work. It's just not going to be good. So I don't know if it's 4x or 1,000x or 100 billion x, but
yeah,
it's not conditional. You need it. And then in terms of engineers, I would say this: engineers, when they're thinking about the thing they're building, it is often the case that they bring all of their attention to the edge cases because that's where software breaks. However, when designers are thinking about the software that they're designing, they bring most of their attention to the common cases because that's what you want to, that's where you want to make your investment. What the software is going to be doing most often for the largest audience. And there is a tension often when designing a user experience versus engineering the software. And I think that's where I would locate the tension, not necessarily around ease of development. I think it's often that engineers put all of their attention on the corner cases that can often break the software.
Yeah, that's true. And talking about this, I was trying. Well, I read today a UX designer that had a note that it was like, how do I explain UX design? What do I do in a party? How do I explain to my friends? What do I do? And all of this that you were mentioning, it brought me, the definition for him was like, I humanize technology. And I think that's part of the investment in UX. It's creating all this empathy for that final user. And by having this kind of method, it's not only for the design team, but also kind of a reminder to the whole team, to developers that are focused on the technology, that there's going to be a person behind, a human being interacting with this tool. So this is why I feel it's important to keep this. And I find that like a great definition, how to explain UX, what is a UX designer. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we should also reiterate what we were saying about marketing personas, which is, marketing teams will create personas too. That's a tool that they have in their toolkit, but that their personas are intended to create a persona that allows them to sell, to get the person in the door. How can we market this product to this person? Whereas our personas are for once the person is in the door, how can we make sure that this product is available and easy for them to use?
True. Well, this is kind of like, I wanted to put an example of what we have worked in DOOR3. So basically using this method, it's like putting all the needs and pain points that a user might have when we build the product. So, and
that was an interesting one because it was for both the person and their pet, and we had to think about them together.
Yeah,
as a duo.
Actually, we call this one's petsonas. So we made that fusion of like the user and his.
Yeah, there were a lot of puns involved in that project.
Yep. Moving forward, like another method that we have found, and we have found this sometimes in middle of the project, is to apply usability testing. And by having already like the prototypes or creating designs, practicing usability tests is something really, really important, because it's what actually will give us the data and the analysis and the information and feedback from users that even before the product is launched, you can test. Or even if a product is already launched, you can also test what it's wrong. And that's where design, it's not something that stops already when you finish a product. Like, I feel a product gotta evolve, and by evolving, this is why you gotta continue practicing usability testing, like continue having feedback from the users and new features that you want to implement into a product. So by getting this feedback, it's definitely saving money in the future and finding errors and fixing them if you already have that. So it's a good method. Like, there are different ways as UX designers that we implement this. We could do this by observing the users on how they interact with certain screens. We can test them remote to, like, basically trying to make them do a task, and if they can do it or not. Like, we get the chance to take notes and see how they are interacting with the platform. So definitely this is one of the methods that we really want to implement, and we use in our products and moments when we are designing them. Here I put some examples, and you can see a user like checking the application, taking notes on how that person is interacting with the screen. So the negative impact of not investing in UX design, like we all know in this industry, like there's trillions of dollars invested in development of software right now. And we found some numbers are kind of impressive. Like, for example, the number of projects abandoned because they do not meet their original purpose is up to 50%. That in all this industry, that could be around like 150 billion worldwide wasted. So that's why investing in UX design, it's quite important, no? When we see these numbers.
I think we could also make that argument also for business analysis too, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Another point that we find out, it's like the amount of time that developers spend reworking by implementing just simple methods like the ones that we just showed, like wireframing or usability testing. Like that will definitely reduce the amount spent by of time spent by developers just reworking a screen and making it better in the middle of a project. And that definitely, it's like another point that we find constantly in when designing and creating products, is that once that product is already developed and remaking an application, it could take a lot of well, it could be more expensive and turn a product be more expensive. No, so yeah, this were some of the reasons that we found that by not thinking about UX and investing in UX could affect the business at the end. So UX design is an investment. It's not an expense. That's something that we wanted to point out here. Like good design, it's equal to good experience. Good design allows the product to meet our user needs. So going back at the beginning to our definition of ROI in UX, we can say it's not all about money. It's like creating good experience, and this is definitely we put up front with DOOR3 when we think in our clients and the products that we work with.
Thanks, Fede. I think if anything, this is it's a very modest statement of the value of UX in a project.
Yeah.
I think really it is UX alone has the ability to determine the outcome of a project.
Yes. And
I think that's true of all. I think that's true of all of the disciplines, but I think you never need to educate anyone about the value of good engineering. That's just assumed. But
Yeah.
I think when it comes to UX and business analysis, sometimes it does require a little education.
I think UX itself is an education for a lot of clients that I've worked with. A lot of clients come into a digital initiative, sometimes not having gone through the cycle of a major digital project, and they think it's a one and done process. We're gonna define, design, build, and the thinking behind, like if you look at the kind of the exercises that Fede was talking about, like for example, the user research up front, the usability testing in kind of in the middle and at the end. Those are the focus of that is not to build, but to learn so you can build better. And the concept of an iterative process of learning and building and learning and building is something that is built into this construct. And it's something that is best talked about early on with clients who don't have the experience, but unfortunately it doesn't, it's hard for someone who hasn't been through this process to connect to that. The user experience exercises, user research, for example, it's usually not a giant project. It's usually small enough that an inexperienced client can still try it out and see just how much they learn, right? And then perhaps they may say, oh, well, now that we've rolled out 1.0, let's see how people are actually working on it. Let's do more user research. Let's learn more based on like we've now learned something. Let's now learn more.
Yes.
Because you never, ever, ever hit the nail on the head 100% on the first release. It never happens.
Yep, that's true. That's why you get like MVPs. And from that, it's like how quick you can launch a product, learn from it, and react fast to improve it. So
yeah, I think UX gets you the opportunity to learn early on so that you have a product that maybe it doesn't hit the nail on the head 100%, no product does, but it hits the nail, right?
Yeah.
Somehow, right? As opposed to projects that simply miss, like it's a whiff, right? And UX really guards against that and against cost overruns on projects and all the things that you talked about, Fede.
Yep, that's true. Reducing the risk, that's the most important thing.
Yeah,
I guess.
Thanks, Fede.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
This was really great. So now everybody is convinced of the value of UX, and they're going to be really excited about it, ready to really invest.
Yeah, I wanted to say that also, Liz, that I think it's something that we put in our team a lot, and we create by having this value and sharing it through our team of designers. It's something that we really try, and it's important for us. And
these are all things we talk about a lot.
It's a culture. Yeah.
Totally. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Another episode of DOOR3 TV
with slides. So
with a presentation. Very exciting.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Fede.
You're welcome. I'm happy to do this.
Yeah, if anybody wants to reach out, we're available. projects.door3.com. And it's been great hanging out.
Yeah. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, guys.